Hello everyone. Today we're looking at my video edit workstation. On the left hand side is a 32-inch 4K AOC monitor. In the center is a 21-inch ViewSonic capable of 720p HD, mainly used for surfing the net and displaying scripts. On the right is the computer that I built a few years ago. And the reason we're here is because we're going to replace this ViewSonic monitor with a brand new old Asus ProArt PA248QV. This was initially released back in 2020. It's not even capable of doing 4K. So why am I buying something that was released 4 years ago and can't even do 4K? Well, the ViewSonic was purchased back in 2005, which makes it almost 20 years old today. So this definitely needs to be replaced. Although a 4-year-old model, it claims to get full HD 1920 by 1200. We have 100% Rec 709 and sRGB, a delta of less than 2, 3-year warranty. It pivots, it twists, it goes up and down, and it also has a USB hub. In opening the box, we see a USB to USA cable, a power cord, HDMI cable, what looks like a awards letter for an Emmy, but it's just the instructions. And what they're most proud of is a color calibration testing report that shows you that this is designed for people who take their color most seriously. Let's get the monitor out of the box. Grabbing the foam, we see that inside there is a plate, and this is the mounting plate that the monitor sits on, and it not only supports the weight, but it allows the monitor to rotate, and there's a scale on here. So let's take the other piece of foam off. Clear some of this protective material, and we see the extension here that the base is going to attach to, and it looks like it just goes right here, and then there's a screw that's built in. You wind it down, and it's set. It has some cushions on it. Looking at the top, it's just the Asus name, some vents. On my side, we see 2 USB ports, one capable of 0.9 amps and the other 2 amps. Along the bottom, there are 2 USB ports rated at 0.9 amps, a USB port, and that's where your connection is made for the USB. That's basically the hub. And then we have an old-fashioned VGA connection. We have an HDMI port, and then finally a display port. Then you have this peculiar tab, which if you press it, actually allows you to disconnect the mount. And now you have mounting holes here where you can mount this on a wall or some kind of pedestal. And of course, we just can snap right back in if we want to go back with the manufacturer's original pad. And we finish off with audio out jack, audio in jack, where you make your power cord connection, and an on and off switch. It seems that Asus knew that I was going to mount my monitor vertically, and that's the way it came. So that's really nice. You may notice that there's almost no bezel, at least on the top and sides, although The bottom gives you a nice big bezel. In my case, it'll be on the left-hand side, and it has 6 buttons for quick and easy access. The monitor does pivot back, forward, and there's some bit of up and down that you can do with it. So let's get this plugged in and see what it looks like. In the vertical position, your cables may protrude into the field of vision on the left side of the monitor as they try to come back to the base where they can travel through an opening at the bottom and out to your computer. With all cables removed and no power to the monitor, we simply lift up and move it out of the way. Careful not to grab the monitor by the screen. I lace in my cables, turn this around, and this is actually a much lighter monitor than the old one. And doesn't take, the footprint really isn't that much bigger than the old one, even though this is a slightly larger monitor. With all our cables connected, we turn on the computer. We're running Windows 11. So it should recognize the monitor, and we may have to flip the switch at the front. And we are coming in through the HDMI, and you can see the picture is wrong, but we can adjust that in Windows. In Windows, I go to Systems, Display, and there's my monitor. I come down to the bottom, display orientation. It's set for landscape. We're going to go with portrait, and we tell it that we want to keep those changes. And now we see the monitor is in portrait mode, very realistic looking display. Image is much crisper and color saturation is better, and there's more fidelity to the colors than what we had before. There's a message in the center from Asus asking us whether we want to be California energy compliant by being in sRGB mode. And that's a yes or no proposition, and you answer that by using the controls on the monitor. Speaking of which, you have the power button on the bottom, and then the next 5 buttons are actually dynamic in that they change depending on what your menu tells you. So in this case, I have an up and down arrow. I can check mark if I agree with something, and then there's an X out to leave that menu. But just know that only the power switch is hardwired. Everything else is just driven by the menu that will be displayed. Here's our image display. And of course, it has a thin border all the way around except for the bottom or left-hand side if you're like me and using it vertically. But overall, I do like the look of this picture and the fact that there's very little frame around 3/4 of it. While you can't expect a lot from a $200 monitor, especially one that's 4 years old as far as a model, the picture seems pretty even, very little fall off, and if we go at an angle, it really holds up nicely. It doesn't drop off the way some other monitors, some cheaper monitors do. So, and let's try coming down. So yeah, wide viewing angle on both horizontal and vertical. And again, we can adjust this to tilt forward, back, left, right, up, and down. I think for under 200 bucks, this is really actually a good buy. Of course, the main reason that I'm using this monitor is for reading text, and it seems to do very well. This camera will probably lose focus, but the text is very crisp and sharp, something that I'm not used to with the older monitor. Another nice thing about this monitor is its power draw. it only uses 15 watts of power, whereas the old monitor was using upwards of 70 watts, which also means this outputs less heat. After 6 months of use, I can report that I'm very satisfied with my purchase. If there's anything to complain about, it would be minor, such as the on-screen display menus are only in the horizontal position. In my case, I use the monitor vertically, thus I have to turn my head sideways to read the menus. Fortunately, I almost never have to use the menus. And then the other complaint is that I wish there was more height to the monitor when it's in the vertical position. I only have 3 inches, 4 or 5 inches would have been nicer. Do note that those are minor complaints. I'm thrilled with the 1920 by 1200 display, which gives you more resolution and more detail to work with. Plus you get 4 USB ports. So overall, I can highly recommend this monitor. If you found this interesting or useful, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, join the subscription team, and as always, thank you ever so much for watching.